If I drive for you, you give me a time and a place. I give you a 5-minute window. Anything happens in that 5 minutes, and I'm yours, no matter what. I don't sit in while you're running it down. I don't carry a gun. I drive.
So you just moved to LA?
No, I've been here for a while.
What do you do?
I drive for movies.
Is that dangerous?
It's only part-time.
You put this kid behind the wheel. There's nothing he can't do.
Kid, I want you to meet Mr. Bernie Rose.
My hands are a little dirty.
So am I.
Did you have any idea there'd be a second car?
He said there would be another car to hold us up.
Whose money do I have?
I'm gonna tell you something. Anybody finds out, we're both dead.
That's why this driver's gotta go, Bernie. He's gotta go.
Any dreams you have or plans for your future, I think you're gonna have to put that on hold. For the rest of your life, you're gonna be looking over your shoulder.
On this podcast, we're going to be discussing the 2011 film, very interesting, unique film, Drive, starring Ryan Gosling.
Yes.
Albert Brooks, among many others.
Yes, a wonderful little small film full of wonderful character actors in a very kind of sleek, kind of semi-retro story of a...
It's like a film noir-ish.
In a way, it harkens back to the neo-noir. It's a little bit of Walter Hill's The Driver, a little bit of Man with No Name as well. And this driver, who is by day is a stuntman and mechanic, by night he's a wheelman for bank robbers and all kinds of villains.
He's the getaway driver.
He's the getaway driver, yes. And the film begins with just right off the bat. I love the way this film begins, Mike. To me, this is one of the best beginnings. This is like the beginning of Close Encounters of the Third Kind, or the beginning of Pulp Fiction, the beginning of a great film. Just off the bat, you just shot panning across the driver's lonely room, where we see, for some reason, a football game, a game in the background. I don't know, football, baseball, in the background, basketball, I guess, right? In the background, and pans across him on the cell phone, going over the details of this business deal.
Yeah, he's telling the person on the other end of the line something to the degree of, "You got me for 5 minutes, 10 minutes, but then after that,
5 minutes before and after that, you're on your own." Again, we just start off with the caper, with the bam, slam, bam, into it.
Yeah, it's very. One of the things I got out of this film that I felt through watching it was this existential sort of way that these characters are kind of played out, like this grand drama that occurs with the driver, and it wraps up actually in an existentialist sort of fashion. There's a way that one could read into the ending of the film. But before we get obviously to the ending of the film,
we got to talk about the opening sequence, the opening driving sequence, where basically we see the details, the particulars of this driver's job, which is that he stops in front of this chain link fence in this building, and he picks up these two robbers who have robbed some kind of unknown establishment. They've got bags full of money, and he is outsmarting the police at every turn. It's a very interesting. It's an action sequence, but it's all choreographed.
It's a calculated
sequence, and it's all choreographed based on the what he's hearing from the scanner. And so it's like the scanner provides the voiceover for what's going on with these police, which we're seeing kind of in the background, and certain parts of the sequence slow down, speed up as he evades the police cars and gets out of the zone. Very, very smart. To me, one of the greatest action sequences with barely really any action. I felt the tension. I felt the white knuckle tension being in that sequence.
Yeah, and you mentioned the slowing down of time almost, in a way where you kind of are experiencing in a slower time what's going on with the central character driver. That happens in several instances throughout the film.
Yeah, but still, it's all. But and again, it is kind of played out in real time as we're watching him, traverse these streets and bridges and
They got the chopper up in the air.
Yeah, as the chopper, then gets surveillance, gets a beat on the driver, and then he goes off the bridge and finds a way to evade him yet again. And then the end where all throughout the sequence, for some reason, the driver alternately keeps putting on this ball game on the radio, and we're wondering, why the hell does he have this ball game on? And then we realize in the end he's choreographing the end of this pursuit to coincide with this ball game ending, so he can go into the parking garage,
lose himself amongst the fans of the ball game.
Yeah, disappear into the crowd as he's leaving, and then bam, we go into the opening title sequence, just slam to that wonderful song by Kavinsky, the French electronic artist, Night Call, which is the opening, which you don't remember very well, but nevertheless was great.
Sets the vibe of the film.
Absolutely.
No, the music I remember very well in that, and
yes.
I like the opening as well, and I thought it was a very good film from beginning to end. The cast, one of the things we have to talk about, there's quite an eclectic group of people here.
Well, yeah. We again in the morning we see the driver at his usual Hollywood job, working with his friend and business partner and
Bryan Cranston.
boss Bryan Cranston. Yes, has a bit of a limp from we're kind of told from an earlier bad business deal.
Yeah, this is the actor from Breaking Bad TV show, cable show.
Yeah, you just wonder where this guy came from, but he just kind of burst, full formed into this. Did that great role in Breaking Bad, which everybody loved, and kind of redefined what AMC was about, as a channel. And he's great in this role as this kind of old timer who's kind of, always seems to mess up anything he touches in a way. But he says has a great heart.
And we've got we got to talk about Albert Brooks.
And Albert Brooks, yeah, Albert Brooks is kind of his connection, his partner. Albert Brooks,
one of the local crime bosses in L.A. there.
Yes, Bernie Rhodes, a guy who said, is kind of like this 80s, producer of movies, these kind of B-movie producer, kind of a Fred Olen Ray type or whatever, who's now gone into the crime field, because he's just doesn't want to produce movies anymore. He's partnered with his big guy Nino, played by Ron Perlman, and I love the dynamic of him because Bryan Cranston goes to Bernie and kind of pitches him the idea of a stock car with the driver driving, the driver, where Ryan Gosling's character would never know his name. He's called Kid,
just
the driver.
To as the driver.
Yes, the existential, the man with no name, the Jean-Pierre Melville, the La Samurai, the guy, or the whatever, the Ryan O'Neal and Walter Hill's driver. But
yeah, you got Nino, who is actually Cranston makes the joke right about Nino being or is it Brooks that makes the joke in the film about Nino being the Jewish owner of the Italian pizzeria?
Yeah, he owns the pizzeria. Yeah, where they kind of operate their nefarious deals out of this pizzeria. It's kind of the meeting spot, and if we've seen Do the Right Thing, we know that nothing good can come out of Italian pizzerias. So, it's just Spike Lee was right about that.
No Danny Aiello cameo in the film.
They're all out to get you. So, there's this wonderful dynamic with Ron Perlman and Albert Brooks that I don't know if we want to go into. Well, I guess we can go into it right now because he, there is the idea at the beginning as big as we set up obviously that Albert Brooks is the reasoned fellow and Ron Perlman, who's this big guy who has this he's got 4 inches of gums, it seems like, and never. But we think, okay, so Albert Brooks is the reasoned guy, and Nino's the hothead crazy guy, just like the cliche. But it turns out that Bernie Rhodes is really the killer. He's this weird,
he doesn't give a.
He's this weird kind of he always wants to kill with instruments, with spiked instruments or something. It's crazy.
Whether
straight razor,
slashing or shivving.
Yeah, he's got this in his house. He's got this
antique knife set.
Barber set. I mean, Mike, it wasn't an antique knife. It had all these like weird knives and crap in it. I mean, he was
Wait, the straight
set
razor.
up. Yeah.
Yeah, he there's some interesting scenes where he just through the course of the film, several different spots, he wields these instruments of slicing and shivving, and basically does all sorts of messy work with several people throughout the film.
And he knows his stuff. I mean, one guy, he likes the guy, so all he does, he just opens up a vein and he goes, there you go. That's it. No pain.
Yeah, we're done. That's it. Just
And realistically, that probably would have, I mean, real life, if you could do that, act as accurately as he does, it probably would kill you in 4 or 5 minutes, because there are, veins in the arm which shoot out like liters and liters of blood. If you would hit it, it would you'd bleed to death in 4 or 5 minutes. So really, it's kind of realistic.
Yes. And a couple other names, Carey Mulligan and Christina Hendricks.
Yes, Carey Mulligan is the role of the fragile
Neighbor.
The fragile neighbor with the little son, and the driver lives this lonely existence of being a stunt driver and being a wheelman, and driving around the city at night and looking all sad like somebody murdered his puppy, because he's a cliche. He's doing the Steve McQueen thing. He's doing the La Samurai, Alain Delon thing. The
Eastwood Leone.
God's lonely
character.
man. Yes. It definitely, I saw a lot of the man with no name in him, and I think Gosling is just strong enough actor. He pulled it off. I don't know what you think.
And the other thing that now I'm thinking about it, the iconic imagery of Eastwood in the Sergio Leone films. What did he always have? He always had the little cigarillo in the corner of his mouth. And
yeah.
Gosling's driver character in this film always has the match. Remember?
He's got the toothpick.
Or the toothpick.
The toothpick, yeah. And he offers the kid a toothpick.
Yeah.
And so he lives that kind of lonely existence.
Lots of white T-shirts too to give you that.
Oh yeah, lots of white dirty T-shirts because he's working out, and so he comes in contact with Carey Mulligan's character kind of almost by accident, and begins to become entangled in her life and her son, and it's a whole.
We find out her husband, who has been incarcerated.
Yes.
Is actually coming home.
Is coming home
from prison, and back home to the wife and the child. And in the interim period, we have the driver, as John said, getting involved in her and the child's life, and he becomes getting a bit bonded with the kid. And
yes.
when the husband comes back from being incarcerated, he slowly starts trying to get reintegrated back into his wife and child's life, and he starts to realize that there was a friendly relationship between Driver and his wife.
Yeah,
we start to realize, the character starts to realize that there's something going on with the husband and his involvement with some nefarious types through his prison relations. That he's got a debt that's owed to this particular contingent.
Yeah. He drives up in their parking lot, which, by the way, they live in this apartment building where the parking lot always seems kind of deserted. But then again, I guess it's not unusual. I mean, one time I was in I was in an apartment in Los Angeles for a few months, and the parking lot always seemed kind of deserted. Like that, like the parking lot in Drive. And he sees the guy beaten up, and takes him back to his apartment. And they're like, okay, these guys want me to do a job for them. I don't want to do it. And so the driver gets involved in this job, being his wheelman.
For the sake of the safety of the wife and the kid.
Yeah, he's going to do this job for him. Stupid.
So getting involved with strange women's drama. This is a lesson to all of you.
Well, I know, but the driver is the protector. He's the existential protector, He's more of an icon, a symbol. It doesn't seem like anything can touch him or kill him. But he also has this kind of.
That's because he's got the scorpion jacket. If you're wearing that, you're impervious.
He has a resonating violence to him, though. Because remember that moment where somebody.
I like he's in the diner.
At the diner, that's what I was about to say.
The guy comes up and approaches him about pulling a job, and he tells him he needs to back the off, or he's going to kick him in the throat or something. He's
going to kick his teeth in, Yeah. So there's this resonating violence with the character, and So he goes ahead and agrees to do this job, and the guy who beat the husband up, this guy named Standard, the husband. He they bring along this girl to help with pulling the job. Christina Hendricks, who is
from TV's Mad Men.
From Mad Men, the famous red-haired, very voluptuous actress from Mad Men, and she's billed as having this big role, but she doesn't really have a big role. She shows
a very
up.
Memorable role.
It's a very memorable role. Yes, and it comes to a very memorable end.
Yeah, in the bathroom, she gets the shotgun to the head to the wall.
Oh my God!
Action.
That's incredible. I freeze framed that. I kept going.
Yeah, there's moments of intense violence in this. Actually,
yeah,
it just kind of comes out of nowhere.
Yeah, well, I guess so. I guess suffice it to say, the bank robbery or the I guess they're
they were robbing a pawn shop.
They're robbing a pawn shop, which turns into something much more bigger. It's supposed to be a $40,000 job, and it turns into a multi-million-dollar job because basically this pawn shop was holding money for these young upstarts that were going to go in and muscle in on Nino's territory. So again, it kind of in this gigantic city, it comes back to Nino there, who's like makes the pronouncement: "This driver, he's got to go. He's got to go. He's got to go." Mike, he has to go.
Yes, I like the scene towards the end of the film where driver goes and gets a hold of from one of the movie sets. Apparently, he's working on the mask. He dons this mask and goes after Nino.
Yes, and I mean
he latex mask from the makeup trailer.
It's a very weird thing because he goes in the makeup trailer and then he sees 3 separate heads for Christina Hendricks. And did you notice that? I mean, that freaked. I
didn't actually.
The moment I saw it, it's like that's the one we've seen blown away. It was just, very.
They're just reusing the appliances.
I don't know. It's weird. And I don't even. There really isn't any reason for the guy to put a mask on at that point. I during the trailers and everything, I thought, okay, there's going to be a reason he's going to throw this off, and no, there's no reason for him to wear the mask, but he just does it anyway.
Just gives it some sort of mystery quality.
Gives it a mystery quality.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, because apparently from one of the articles I read that the director was influenced heavily by films such as Halloween and The Transporter, which is an interesting couple of films to be influenced by.
Yeah, and Nicholas Winding Refn, I'm not sure if I would totally believe anything he says. He's Danish, and I don't know. Can't quite
try to say you can't trust the Danish.
Well, you can trust them, but for as far as filming, like Lars von Trier's, they're a bunch of tricksters, So you got to be careful with them. They're sneaky. They'll jump up on you.
The scene where he basically ends up with he crashes his vehicle into Nino's pursuant vehicle, and they end up it goes over a cliff edge, and they end up having a little bit of a skirmish out on the beach.
Yes.
And very interesting lighting that was utilized in that scene.
Oh yeah, wonderful night lighting with, I guess, as you mentioned, the lighthouse with those rays of light. Very, very cool. Very nice. Very nicely done. Very atmospheric.
And Albert Brooks, his character was quite interesting through this film, and I've heard widely reported that he got snubbed with basically the release of the names that are up for an Oscar this year, that he was not nominated for a supporting role in this film.
Yeah, I think that was a crime. This film, I mean, it was I guess bandied about as the big film, and I think it did relatively well, but it didn't get any. I think it got one nomination for like best
sound editing
or something. Kind of weird.
Yeah, Gosling's had a really good year for 2011, of which this film was released. Ides of March came out, where he was in that with George Clooney and Paul Giamatti, Philip Seymour Hoffman. I mean, that was a big film too. I really enjoyed it. And he was in, what what was that film that he was in with? Was it like Steve Carell's in it, and
I don't know.
it was like one of these romantic comedy type films or something? But
I don't watch these
I'm
movies.
sure it's Love's in the title somewhere.
Something I love.
Big Ryan Gosling year.
Love the drive. No. So yeah, absolutely. But he's a great actor, and even though I'm not as familiar with his filmography as some people, I really loved him in Drive.
I saw that he was
a right
in
actor.
The film The Notebook, which is
The Notebook, yeah, and Blue Valentine. He was good in Blue Valentine, which I've never seen, but has a fascinating cover.
And Fracture with Anthony Hopkins.
And Fracture, yes,
Great thriller.
another film I have not seen.
Really?
I don't watch movies. I don't like them. So yes, good film. So,
and I see that you can actually, as of today on eBay, you can actually go on there and bid on the exact Scorpion jacket that he wore in the film.
The Scorpion jacket. I wonder what that's up to.
It was up to just under $2,600.
Yeah. So, the film is in some ways a fable. That's another thing that, again, you can never trust him. But Nicholas Winding Refn, the director of this film, the Danish director who came from the Pusher trilogy and
Bronson.
I guess it was his last couple big films were Bronson and Valhalla Rising. He said he wanted to make a kind of fairy tale. He wanted to make a kind of Los Angeles fairy tale. The idea of the Scorpion jacket could kind of relate to the fable of the scorpion and the frog, with the scorpion, carrying the frogs on its back, and then the frog rather carrying the scorpion on its back, and the scorpion stings the frog, and because
it's in my nature.
Scorpion, it's in my nature, yeah. So he's got the scorpion on his back all the time. He's carrying these people around just as the frog does, and that type of crap. And but it also ties into the the iconic Man with No Name myth. There's a bit of The Thief, a bit of Michael Mann, very kind of
James Caan, The Thief.
Yes,
film, yeah.
James Caan, Thief, absolutely. I mean, I think the title sequence, and the whole
neon font that they use for that.
Yeah, the whole neon kind of hard criminal type, vibe to the whole film. The wonderful helicopter shots of Los Angeles, which are just beautiful, which are just stunningly realized. The very subtle electronic kind of radiating soundtrack from Cliff Martinez, who had done all those Steven Soderbergh films. He'd done Solaris. He'd done a bunch of Steven. So he was Steven Soderbergh's composer, pretty much. I think he goes back to Sex, Lies, and Videotape, right? I don't know. Anyway, and then of course the pop soundtracks, which are kind of like very, in some ways, kind of electronic and very kind of 80s retro type things.
Bananarama-esque.
Yeah, to me, the film it strikes me in a way like those films that were made in the 70s, but were about the 50s and the 60s, and they were kind of like retro within the retro. They were like a time period within a time period. They were films made in the 70s, kind of like Happy Days, where it's like made in the 70s, but we're talking about the 50s and 60s. So,
like you mentioned, Thief by Michael Mann. That film very much was akin to. Yes. Films that were in the 40s, like the film noirs that were shot, like, when did Thief come out? What year was that? Like 80, 81, something like that?
Yeah.
And that was very, even though it was modern day and it was shot modern day, taking place modern day, it had the feel that was very reminiscent of one of those, like, sort of like Asphalt Jungle or something where you have The Killing, where you have like a heist that's being planned out, executed, and then the denouement of that.
I guess, yeah. But I guess what I was getting at, and I'm kind of long-winded, is that Drive kind of feels like a modern film. Feels very modern, but it feels then kind of like, in some senses, kind of retro back to the 80s. So it's a modern film, but then at the same time, it's also an 80s film. So, but it gave me a good vibe, good feel, and I think towards the end, it in some ways, there's slows down, gets a little too I don't know. What do you feel about the ending of the piece?
Are you talking about the very last sort of scenes? Or?
Well, yeah, towards the end. I mean, the whole ending. I don't know. I don't think you can kill the driver. He's such an iconic character. He can't die.
Well, and that's why they left it sort of so existentialist, that where he's out there.
Yeah, he's out there.
He's wounded. Is he dying?
He's driving.
Yeah, the neighbor and the kid come over and knock on the door, and the door of the driver's place, and the driver never shows up.
Yeah,
never answers the door, and then they cut to him driving off in the night. So you're kind of left with this image of he's still out there somewhere.
He's still out there.
So
somewhere.
What's this director working on? You said something about a movie he's working on next.
Yes, exactly, Mike. I did. That seems like a kind of a loaded question there. I don't know. I'd heard he was working on Logan's Run.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
Yes.
It's an interesting film.
I love the original Logan's Run. I think he could do some interesting stuff with it, though. It seems like they've already remade it as In Time, and with Justin Timberlake, that's kind of a Logan's Run-esque type vibe there, isn't it?
Oh, great.
You should watch it.
Justin
it's
Timberlake,
a good movie.
From one of our other favorite films, Southland Tales.
Yes, he's good in that. He didn't have a song and dance number to The Killers, but he's good in this In Time, I think. So.
Well, anyways, Drive, great film.
Yes, it is indeed.
And he is still out there with his scorpion jacket on.
Yes.
Damn it.
Perhaps until the next sequel there comes along. You could do a sequel to this, Mike. I know you expressed some misgivings toward a sequel, but you could do it like The Man with No Name. You could do a fistful of dollars for a full dollar for a few dollars more. Can get that out.
The Good, the Bad,
the good. Yeah, you could do that, man. But
I would love to see it done well, but we know Hollywood, they just tend to fuck up sequels and continuations and reboots and remakes and re-envisionings and Rob Zombie, whatever the fuck he calls his films.
Well, anyway, but yes, hopefully let's hope for a good sequel to this one.
Let's hope.
Yeah, let's hope.